Today I have Brian Maurer, and he is from the company Bristle Health, and we're going to talk about saliva testing and what their company does. It is an amazing company. I have a couple of patients that have done this. I have tested myself. I have not gotten my results back, but we'll talk about that in another podcast. And I just want to let him tell you so you're not always hearing me talk. So Brian, thank you for sharing your amazing company with us and what you do. And I'm going to just let you take it from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. As I was telling you, I think before, just such a fan of yours and the content you put out and helping patients really take ownership of their health, because that's something we're really passionate and why we started Bristle. So Bristle is an at-home oral health test where from a small saliva sample, we profile the oral microbiome. So the community of bacteria, both good and bad, that are present in the mouth. The reason we do this is it can help us understand the root cause of oral conditions. So things like caries, cavities, gum disease, bad breath even, all stem from an imbalance of these bacteria in the mouth, bacteria and fungi. And by analyzing them, we can really start to understand how healthy is our oral community, and help patients understand, where am I? Get a real quantitative measurement of how I'm doing and which treatments or interventions are going to be most effective for me. So my story, starting Bristle, was I was really a frustrated patient. So not a dentist. We aren't dentists on the team, but we came from the genetics and genomics industry. And we were using this technology to help with cancer research, with heart disease research, liver research, basically all across the healthcare landscape, including gut microbiome, skin microbiome. And I'm somebody who had always struggled with cavities throughout my life and with different issues, despite doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And, I would ask, why am I getting this when my friends aren't or when other people aren't? And at one point I'd just been told I had bad teeth. And, that's a terrible answer.
Tell people, yeah.
Yeah. And so me and my co-founder, Danny, we were seeing all of these gut microbiome companies helping people really understand what's imbalanced in their gut and how to improve it. But we noticed nobody's looking at the oral microbiome. There was no way as a consumer that I could go and really understand, do I have an imbalance of bacteria? Is that what's driving my condition? So we decided to make one, and that was the genesis of Bristle.
That's awesome. I'm so excited that you did that because obviously you kind of see what I've been doing. I preach how everything starts in the mouth, like how you're breathing, what's happening, because most of what we do, we put in our mouth. So what's happening in your mouth is affecting the rest of your body. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough. So
totally. Yeah. And I mean, that was, so when we set out to start Bristle, really around this idea of we would look at the oral microbiome to get insights into oral health, with the goal of developing more personalized care plans and more effective treatments. Because as you know, as most people know, what works for someone in one thing isn't going to work for everyone else.
Right.
And so we wanted to be able to get those insights. But as we dug in, we really realized this is such a larger problem. Oral disease on its own is a massive problem in the United States and the world. Over half of US adults will have some form of gum disease. 90% will have a cavity and a permanent tooth. But as you mentioned, it really continues throughout the body. Gut conditions like IBS and IBD, the mouth is constantly seeding the gut with oral bacteria. And these anaerobic Gumline bacteria, the same that cause gum disease, have been found to cause conditions or worsen conditions in the gut. Very similarly with pregnancy and adverse pregnancy outcomes, or heart disease or diabetes. And we just kept going more and more. And it was, it felt like an imperative mission to start to understand this more and start to help improving our overall health through the mouth.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing. You mentioned heart disease. So I also teach CPR. And so they found that the plaque in the arteries was the same plaque as the plaque in your mouth. So, a lot of times they tell people to pre-medicate if you have a mitral valve prolapse. when you get a dental cleaning. But my mindset as dental hygienist is 64 million people have gum disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. When you're brushing your teeth and you have gingivitis and periodontal disease, all that bacteria is entering your bloodstream. So it's accumulating in your arteries, which is shrinking your arteries. Then your heart has to pump harder. And so there's such a huge correlation. And so that's why I think getting your company out there and helping more people is really, really important.
Definitely. And just to touch on heart disease, I mean, it's such a complex relationship as well with the mouth, where one of the things I had learned was the gumline is a direct access to your bloodstream. So when you are flossing and your gums are bleeding, that's letting these bacteria into your bloodstream where they like to go around and wreak havoc. But also on the flip side, oral bacteria, some beneficial species, actually play a key role in reducing our blood pressure. Mm-hmm. So there are bacteria that help extract nitrate from our diet and convert it into nitric oxide, which, as we've learned, has huge implications in our vascular health, brain health, heart health. So it's really, one of the things I love that you preach is it's not just let's take out the bad. It's really let's create a healthy community in the mouth, because these beneficial bacteria help with our heart health, help with digestion, with vitamin extraction. So it's really great.
It is. And you have a really comprehensive program for patients. You don't just give them the saliva test and say, here's the bacteria in your mouth. You actually tell them what to do with that bacteria, what products are going to help them, where to get the products. So that's what my patient really loved and was excited about. So the patients that I've had go through your program so far are excited with what happens after they know what the bacteria is.
Definitely. And that was something that was very important to us, because we've done a lot of these tests. We've seen these data. And if you have 100 bacteria, it can be tough to know, what do I actually do now? And so it's always that so what of, what can you recommend? And we really want to take it beyond this idea of just brushing and flossing. I know this is another thing you preach. But what are these other interventions you can implement for yourself, for your family, throughout the day to improve your health? So like I said, I'm somebody who has struggled with cavities. I have like a spray here that contains xylitol and some pH neutralization. So after my coffee, constantly trying to maintain a healthy pH balance in the community, diet, eating whole foods. So much of it actually stems from diet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not just sugar. I think a lot of times it gets boiled down to sugar, but simple carbs and carbohydrates can really lead to this acidity that creates an unhealthy community. And on the flip side, again, there's positive things you could be doing. Eating more nitrate in your diet feeds those good bacteria and helps produce more nitric oxide, or incorporating things like arginine that help remove the sticky plaque from your teeth. Mm-hmm. So it's great. And that's with people like yourself, and through Bristle, we really want to help people just know it doesn't always have to be just do the negative stuff. There's so many things you could be doing to improve your health.
Right. And I think a lot of people too don't go to the dentist. So the statistics are 50% of the people that even have dental disease don't go to the dentist for whatever reason, fear, copay, they still have to pay. They don't want to hear what's happening. And in your mouth, it's funny because our teeth are the only part of our skeleton that we clean, right? And it's also the only part of our body that doesn't heal itself and regenerate. So you can heal it if the cavity is just in the enamel surface, but once it goes through the dentin, there's nothing you can do. You have to see a dentist to repair that, or it will just progress. And so that's where that bacteria and getting that bacteria out is really important. And like you talked about, I think a lot of people don't understand that when they have cavities and gum disease, it's a pH issue. So it's what's happening in the mouth. And again, we're not saying that at the dental office. We're saying brush, floss, go to the dentist more often, get a deep cleaning, have your cavities filled, but we're not telling you how to prevent it or what is the root cause. So that's another thing that I love about your company is you get down to, hey, this is the root cause. This is what's happening. And another thing is that bacteria is familial. So if you have it, someone else in your family has it. So if you're a mom, you're going to want to test your whole family. So that way, you know what bacteria is happening, because one child, like you said, one person has cavities, another one doesn't. Why is that?
Yeah. And I mean, that's such a salient point. where, it's starting to become, I think, more common to try not to kiss your kids on the mouth when they're babies, because they aren't born with these bacteria. They're transmitted when you're feeding them or kissing them. And as you mentioned, they found transmission of both gum disease causing and cavity causing bacteria to children from their parents. And so it really does start with the household. And I think the other piece you had mentioned of people not going to the dentist, even if they have disease, is there's, again, an education problem of oral disease progresses silently. I see you nodding. The health professionals know this, but that was something I wasn't aware of, was, you can have cavities progressing, or you could be progressing to really actually pretty advanced stages of gum disease without knowing, because there aren't painful symptoms. Bleeding gums shouldn't be normal. I mean, you touched on the piece of polishing the teeth, but could you imagine if you ran a piece of string across your hand and it started bleeding? Like, that would be an area of concern, but we just accept this as normal for some reason.
Right.
And that's got to change.
Yeah, you'd go to the doctor if any other part of your body was bleeding days at a time. And honestly, that's how I found the cancer. We didn't talk about that, but my hair was falling out. My nails were breaking. They've always been really strong. I was so tired, and I'm usually very energetic. And then my gums started bleeding. And I knew as a dental hygienist, my gums were healthy. I'm like, why are my gums bleeding? So I got a burst. I say burst saved my life, because that's when they came out with the water flossers. And I was using a water flosser, but this one was more powerful. And I'm like using it for days and the bleeding's not stopping. I'm like, something's wrong. And I went to the doctor and they're like, no, all your labs are fine. I'm like, something's wrong. Like, my gums should not be bleeding. I preach that, right? So I think I better live what I'm preaching. Something's wrong. So I think it took 5 doctors, and they found the cancer stage 1 because I was my own healthcare advocate. So this is why I speak about being your own healthcare advocate and being the owner, right? Oxygen, water, nutrition, getting enough sleep, and respecting the one body you get. We recharge our cell phones. We take our car in when the light comes on, but our mouth and bleeding gums are the warning sign of our body, and we ignore it. But it's telling you, it's giving you signs. You just have to listen.
Right. Yeah. I think I saw on your website or somewhere that the mouth is like the check engine light for the body.
Yeah.
And it's so true. But then there's, it does get complex. Most mothers will encounter pregnancy gingivitis during their pregnancy. And I know from moms I've spoken to, that's something that most people aren't aware of, that the hormonal changes can make you more sensitive to these bacteria that may have not been causing issues before, but because of the increased blood flow to your mouth and because of different changes, the whole environment changes. And so there's different things you should be doing. But I mean, to your point, that's such an amazing story of just, when something feels wrong. I think, a mother's intuition is talked about often, but a patient's intuition of knowing this shouldn't be the case. So I really admire that you act on it, because it's something we hear from our patients a lot. I think a lot of people go the traditional route until the traditional route stops working for them. And then they look for, how can I take this into my own hands? And those are my favorite stories of patients who sought us out, found us, implemented those changes, like the patient you had described, and really took ownership of their health and had a care team around them with their hygienist, their dentist, and other care providers that really bought in. That's what gets me really excited for the future of healthcare.
Yeah. And that's what gets me excited about the future of your company as well, because even like diabetes, it's cyclical. So if you have gum disease, your sugar is going to be out of whack, and your sugar is out of whack, your gums are going to be bleeding. So they both need to be in balance in order for everything to be healthy. You can't have gum disease and not have issues. So if you're a diabetic struggling with sugar, you probably have some gum disease, and then your protocol and learning the bacteria has helped. I've seen it. I guess that's why I'm so excited about your company versus some of the other saliva testing companies, is just because you really guide the patients in information that they're not hearing other places. And so that was why I reached out to you when I talked to the couple of patients that were so excited and said they followed me all the way through until I got through. And she's like, so they want to know their numbers, like print out their numbers so they can see the difference because of the education that they're getting from your company. So I say
That's
kudos to
fantastic.
you with what you're doing, because I see how excited patients are getting to be a part of their health, because our healthcare system is a sick care system. So with you, we're working at root cause. You get to take ownership of your health, like I talk about, and you get to be part of the solution.
I mean, that really means a lot. Thank you so much. That made my whole week. But it's such a good point, because it really is. I know how frustrating oral disease can be. We know, like, our team has experienced it. It can feel shameful. It can feel like you don't know where to go. And that was just what we wanted to be able to give patients is, as you mentioned, a quantitative readout, actually being able to measure what is going on. How am I changing? I wear an Apple Watch and it motivates me to go outside. I know I'm supposed to do it, but it is helpful to stick to it and motivate. And when your scores improve, it's the best thing. When you go in and ace your next dental appointment or start to feel more comfortable in a social setting because you know your bad breath symptoms or whatever you were struggling with. And it's not a patient problem. I think a lot of times it feels like I'm doing something wrong or I'm the one to blame for this, when really it can be we just haven't had the right tools or we haven't had the right education. And so, that's why we have Bristle, to work with people like you and help spread this mission. But yeah, thank you. That is that's what we want for patients.
Yeah. And I guess that's what made me excited. Like when I saw that patient last week, I had goosebumps talking to her that whole time because she was so excited and asking questions that before she wasn't asking, because you guys educated her even more than I did. And I was like, woohoo. We were like high-fiving when she left. And a lot of the other hygienists were just looking at me like, we were crazy. And she's like, you and I know what's happening here. And I said, we do. So that's good. So yeah, I mean, so it actually just even brings life back into the hygiene. Because like you talked about, it's like you're not brushing enough or you're not flossing enough. Like patients are taught it's something they're doing wrong. But your microbiome is what your microbiome is. And if you're mouth breathing and you have certain medications or other things are going on systemically, it's more brushing and flossing and going to the dentist is a piece of the puzzle. There's all these other pieces that we have to put together. And you guys are another one of those pieces. So again, I just want to thank you and thank you for, coming on and talking about this. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with moms and people that are listening to this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess first off, just kind of touching on the working with professionals part. It's for patients and for providers, for your dentist, your hygienist. These are tools that are new, and so if they're not using it, let them know about it. Let them know that this is something I did. We're always happy to speak with different dentists or hygienists or functional medicine providers, really anyone. We get people from all across where they're like, I finally have this missing data point to deliver better care. But no, I think for moms and for your audience, it's really just don't give up on one piece. As you mentioned, if you want to improve your oral health, you can. These diseases are preventable when you take the right steps. It's just a matter of knowing what to do. We're here as a resource. We love working with patients. That's what gets us out of bed every day. We have a lot of information about it, but yeah, I think the biggest thing is just what you highlight. Be your own health advocate, take control of your health. And if you want to learn more about your oral health, that's what Bristle's for. And I guess the tandem of people like yourself and educated patients are really going to what makes the change in how we practice healthcare instead of sick care. So yeah.
Yes. And your site is bristleshealth.com, correct?
Bristle Health. Yeah. BRISTLE health.com.
There'll be a link below if you'd like to get a test kit that you can test yourself or your family. So, Brian, thank you so much for sharing this information and for what you're putting out into the world. I think that is definitely going to change the world and how people look at their oral health. And we definitely need more people that are putting this information out, because it's going to make a difference in our health span versus our lifespan. Right. We're living longer, but we're not living healthier. So this is one of the things that you can do to live a healthier life. And if you change your habits, your kids do what you do. So if you teach your kids these habits, they're going to live a healthier, happier life longer versus a sick life. And they won't have to go through some of what I went through with the cancer, hopefully, if you're making better choices. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. As I mentioned, we're really standing on the shoulders of people like yourself who have been spreading this message and doing this education. So just an honor to be here and to be working together.
Thanks. And we will definitely talk soon. And then stay tuned, because the patient that used this, we're going to be interviewing her in a couple of weeks so you can see her experience and how she felt on the patient side of this as well. So
amazing. Can't wait to see it.
Thanks, guys. As always, thanks for listening. And if there's anything that I can help you with, you know how to get a hold of me. If you would like more information, you can go to bristleshealth.com. You can also click the link below and you can go right to their website and get any more information. They have a couple of different options that you can look at. They have one where you can just get the kit. They have one where you can get your own personal advisor to help you through what the results are. They also have a before and after. So you can find out what is going on right when you take the test, and then you can follow their protocol and find out what the bacteria is in your mouth after you follow the protocol. So I think that it is pretty amazing. It's something that I absolutely recommend, knowing the health of your mouth, knowing the bacteria that's in your mouth. When you open the box, you get this little card in here, and you can scan the QR code, which will take you to a video of Brian showing you how to use the test. And it's got a couple of things in there. It's got the little cup that you spit into, and you unscrew this cap, you put it down in there, and you spit into it. You have 2 vials in case you make a mistake on one, and then you just put it in the package and ship it off. And in case you can't get enough saliva or you have a really dry mouth, they have these cute little scratch and sniff that kind of can get your olfactory tubes going, that maybe gets your saliva more going, but you don't want to chew gum or anything like that. You want to do this first thing in the morning when you wake up, when the bacteria in your mouth have had time to do whatever they're doing when you sleep. So make sure that you brush your teeth at night before you go to bed, or I guess if that's not your routine, just do whatever your routine is. And as always, thanks for watching. A healthy mouth is a healthy body and a happy, healthy life.